Hey Al, welcome to the podcast.
How you doing, man?
Good. Yo, thank you so much for jumping on. I mean, I found you through Charlie, I want to say, and then recently you did a sick piece with Nice Kicks.
Oh yeah, yeah. With Matt, I did a piece for Matt. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
That was my first New Balance.
It's crazy. I mean, for people who aren't familiar with you, or my listeners are not familiar with you, how about you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Al Baker. I'm based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I am an artist. I will consider myself like a sneaker artist. Is basically what I do. Was I dissect sneakers, take them apart, and then frame them up to create wall art. So it's almost in a way similar to like insects that you would see in the Natural History Museum and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Out here, we have this place. I forgot the name of it though, and it used to be in this like there's this loop you do back in the day with sneakers, and you'd be in Soho, and there's this shop that does have like insects pieces. What is that term called when you do?
I mean, you pretty much, I don't know exactly the term, right? You pretty much, are you talking about like the framing and stuff like
Yeah,
that,
the framing of the
where you were pin,
insects. Yeah.
yeah, so you would basically pin them up and all that. I mean, it's just kind of I honestly don't know the name of it, but just to kind of put it all together, I just say it's part of like the entomology kind of field
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
It's like for the listeners, if you ever see like a breakdown of an insect in a textbook where it has like the little lines and stuff
Hmm.
like that, you're bringing that to life, and you're doing it for sneakers, which is absolutely wild. I
Yeah,
think it's a
yeah.
super
Hmm.
unique take. So yeah, it's super
Like
dope.
you're in New York, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so and you've been to the Natural History Museum over there?
Hmm.
Yeah, so they have like if as far as I remember, they had a huge uh, insect exhibit over there where they pretty much just did everything, pinned them up on the walls and stuff. And I'm kind of doing the same thing where I'm also creating little plaques to kind of give like an educational side of it, the history behind the shoe and all that stuff as well.
So where does that curiosity come from?
What do you mean?
Like, what made you want to be like, all right, instead of just wearing these shoes, I'm gonna break them down and pin them
Oh,
up.
oh well, my wife, she's actually has a passion for entomology. And she was doing that stuff. She was pinning the insects. She was getting ethically sourced insects from all over the world. And what she was doing was like they came in packaged, and she had to leave them in a box with a wet paper towel to kind of loosen up the body parts, and then she would spread them. And when she spread them, uh, and she will let it dry, and then that's when she frames them, pins them, and does all that. And we literally have a whole wall of just insects that you would see around the world, and it's pretty dope. And it was cool because with me, as much as I love sneakers, I kind of did this. I had an idea that just randomly popped in my head, and was like, what if I did this? And it was one of those things where it was probably the first time I ever put my idea into work, and it ended up working out.
I mean, that's wild. Oh, well, matter of fact, let's just hard pivot into the question. And that question is, what's your first kicks? What's that first pair of sneakers you absolutely need to have?
So to lead into that question, like I I was a huge sneaker person when I was in middle school, high school, and I feel like that time was much different than it is now. Like I wasn't into like the hype sneakers and stuff. I was more into like whatever the basketball because I loved basketball. So my favorite player was Allen Iverson, Tracy McGrady. The shoes I wanted the most were the Answers. Like my favorite pair of the Answer sixes, which I feel like it doesn't get enough love, and then the T Max, and pretty much any T Mac you could think of. Like I wanted.
And well, hold on. Would you get? Did you get any of them?
Yeah.
Answer sixes.
Yeah, my parents definitely helped me out with that. Like I got the Answer Six lows, the all white ones with silver. I really wanted, and I'm still trying to find a pair because I really want to get them again. And I'm hoping that they retro them, but I don't know. It's just doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
Oh
But
no, so I totally forgot about this shoe, and I will say these are not a great looking shoe.
dude, I love them so much. Like you talk, we were talking about the one with the zipper, right? Because the
Yeah, the
yeah,
zipper and it's got this like the it says I don't know what it has. I think it says Iverson on the side and like little
yeah,
squares.
uh-huh, uh-huh. I love
The
those.
insole's cool. The insole's very cool.
Dude, I absolutely love those so much, and I like the Lowe's ones better. But I pretty much like Lowe's any shoe better than anything. But I mean, that probably says enough about me because if you think about it, T Max, they're not a good looking shoe either. You know what I mean? They're
No,
pretty,
yeah.
so like especially the T Mac ones. The T Mac ones are horrendous looking technically, and but I love them so much, and because I played basketball, I thought they were such a great basketball shoe. So they were so comfortable, even though they were bulky. I felt like I can kick anybody, and it would be, I wouldn't have to worry about my foot getting hurt.
It's like I mean, I'm just looking at these again and I'm like, wow, I can't believe anybody bought these. But it's
Dude,
great.
they're
They look like dance shoes, like you're about to pull up to the prom in them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like looking when you're wearing them, you're looking down on your feet. Like it looks like you're wearing cardboard boxes in a way. Like the way they're shaped, they're just so squared off and weird. But man, I don't know what it was. I think I guess I must have like a weird sense of style or something. But when it comes to the uglier shoes, I mean, I had the Data shoes. I had the Spreewells. I had the spinners. Um, I had the Chris
You're
Webbers.
you were the demographic these hoopers were looking for back in the day.
Yeah, pretty
because
much,
I didn't know anybody wearing those, man. And
dude.
I met Latrell, and I told him I wore them, and I totally was lying to his face. Like,
dude, dude, I was running down the court wearing these playing basketball, and every single step, it was like you had a fan going because every time you took a step, it just sounded like a fan, and because of all the air pocket. Have you actually had them or seen them in person? Like for those spinners to the spin, there's like an air pocket that you would step on, and it would just blow the air into the wheel and then spin it, and you could
that's
hear it.
crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah, and you could literally hear it every time you took a step. So it was like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. It was one of the most annoying things of all time, but I loved it. I don't know why. I just loved it. And same with the Webbers. I mean, every single shoe had that shininess to it, and I don't know. I just stood out, and I had a weird sense of style. No, I'm not gonna lie. I did, but whatever.
So like in high school, like were you what were the kids saying to you then if you're rocking these?
I mean, the group I was hanging out with, they were all part of. I was playing basketball with them too, and they were kind of, excuse me, they were kind of doing the same thing. We're in the same stuff, and I don't know. I thought I was looking good.
My bad for bullying young Al. Because like I'm trying to remember like when I was in school. I mean everything. It doesn't matter if you were like in the freshest of fresh. So yeah, it'd be weird. Like in school, it doesn't matter what you were wearing. People will always just making fun of you. So it's just like I remember one time somebody pulled up in the Air Jordan 16s, and I made a video of this because all the kids were like, I don't know if you remember the 16. It's like the one with the vest
hmm
on it and the shiny
I'm
the
waiting to
pad.
I'm waiting to hear what you say about them before I give my opinion on it.
Well, I remember distinctly was somebody pulled up with them and they dropped it's the navy blue and white pair, and they were like, "Man, you pulling up in here with these tap dance shoes, you need to get out of here." And for the rest of my life, that's all I see now. And then I
Oh,
think they're like tap dance shoes. So yeah, I made a video of that, and people were coming at me, coming after me because I said that.
I mean, here's the crazy part. I absolutely love the 16 so much.
Uh huh.
Yeah, like I don't like the cover part. I actually love the way they
The
look without
shroud.
the cover. Yeah, I like the
Yeah.
way they look without it. So if I were to buy them, I would never wear that part on top. But yeah, I love those ones so much, and I'm glad that they're coming out with those again. Not at least from what I hear. So it's
I mean, I mean, let's see. Because now they're like, yeah, we're gonna come out with all this other stuff, and
Yeah,
I'm like I'm waiting to be like, okay, it's really coming out because I feel like I feel like like all these sneaker leakers are like just running out of like they're just coming
that's
up with
true.
stuff like,
It's
until
true.
Nike is like, yeah, this is true. Then I'll be like, I'm always just gonna be like, we'll see.
That's true. Uh, I think I was just like all the articles I read, like they're trying to like the tens and above, they're focusing on re-releasing those and retroing those. But I don't know if that's true. I really hope so because I love pretty much though. I mean, I love the tens. I love and everything above the tens as well. So I know they came out with the what was that 16s? What was the one the briefcase again?
The 17.
The 17s. I'm not really a huge fan of those, but I know that's a good sign that they actually did come out with those to make sure that the other ones are coming out. But who
For sure,
knows?
for sure. It gives the people that like those models a chance. Like
Yeah, yeah.
one of my early memories is the 15. So I do want to get a pair, even though I think they're hideous.
Hmm.
I still probably will get a pair,
Yeah, yeah,
just for memory's sake.
yeah. It's and I have the and like my knowledge is not as good as others, but I'm trying to remember what was the one. Man, they I think it was the 13s, but they had a low top. It almost looked like a rim on the side, and they were low top with baby blue on the bottom, and it looked like carbon fiber on the bottom going across. But I don't know. I'm bad at explaining things. So it's another one. Like there's just Jordans I've had growing up, and I loved them. Jordans weren't really my main focus when I was growing up, as much as they are now. I love Jordans. I love Nikes. I love Sauconys. I love any shoe brand really. But when I was a kid, I was more focused on like basketball and the game of basketball. And if I was a fan of the player, I wanted their shoe. But that was pretty much me.
Was that like what propelled you into loving sneakers and like being part of that? I don't know if you were part of like a sneaker group back in the day or anything like that.
So, I mean, to get started, so when I was a kid, I loved the shoes growing up, but then I stopped because I got into playing pool when I was in what was I think I was 17. I started playing billiards,
Mhm.
and then I went.
Like you were nice at it.
Yeah, I tell people I was pro, but I was kind of like I was just below the pro level. Like
Uh-huh.
I was playing on the pro tour in Florida, and I spent about 10 years doing that. So I kind of pushed sneakers aside, and I wore more shoes that were just comfortable to wear around the pool table because I was playing upwards of well, I was practicing 13 hours a day, but in tournaments I'll be playing from 7 in the morning to 5 the next morning. So it was like,
Wow.
yeah, I had to make sure I had comfortable shoes on, and it was so I kind of like lost my sneaker touch when I was around
I
that
mean, it
time.
would have been it would have been something if you were like wearing heat and on
Yeah,
like
but like, could you imagine wearing a pair of Jordan 4s walking around the pool table for 12 hours? Like, it's just
uh,
like that would be
you're on the Ocho, just like
dude.
you're on ESPN Ocho, just like and
Yeah.
here's a sneaker Al. He's about
Well,
to hit it.
yeah. Well, billiards has its own channel now, apparently. Like this is
Oh
news that
man,
this is because I don't play billiards no more. I ended up quitting that like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. But ever since then, they have their own absolute channel, like just billiards TV, and I that's
yeah.
brand new. They don't do ESPN no more.
I mean, I'm trying to because like I remember my favorite is trick shots. Like I used
Hmm.
to watch all the trick shots. Like I don't know. It's funny because like I was just out recently for my birthday and we ended up at a bar with a pool table and I was playing pool with my boy and I'm over here trying to like I because I watch it so much I'm over here trying to do the like it's like
Masse,
you hit it
yeah.
down yeah that's what it's
Hmm.
called because I was gonna call it sachet and I was like this is definitely the wrong thing so yeah, I was trying to masse it into like I was doing just a U turn into the pocket, and nah. I couldn't do it. I was too drunk, but two, I was just like trying to get it, and I'm hitting it dead on. I'm like, no, this is wrong,
Yeah,
and so yeah,
you're the type of person that we don't like at the pool table because you're the one that puts the holes in the in the belt. So it's like, but yeah, it's definitely it's not easy, but once you actually get it down and learn it, it can be a pretty cool shot to show other people. But yeah, the trick shots like Florian, uh, Massey, um, all those people that you normally would see on TV, right? Those are they're pretty cool. Florian's actually with like that huge YouTube sensation dude that did that's the French guy. He actually lives out here in Vegas. Um, but yeah, he's a pretty cool guy too. But he runs like one of the leagues out here in Vegas too. So, but yeah,
that's
he's
dope.
cool. Yeah.
The It's just interesting because pool is such a I feel like it's such a bar game that it's kind of like, how do you make this a real thing?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not. It's the reason why I quit. It wasn't fun. Like it's a terrible lifestyle. 'Cause, I mean, just imagine. So this was back when I lived in Florida, but just imagine like having to travel throughout the state, and that's how you make your. The only way you make your money is if you actually win or get top three, top five or so. And if you don't win anything, you're pretty much screwed out of the money that you spent to go across the state or whatever. So it's not great living at all. You have to be the best in the world basically to have these sponsorships to pay for your trips, to pay for everything. And then that's what makes it worth it. But pool's not really, there's not really a lot of money in pool to begin with. So it's not like poker, you know what I'm saying? So to get a sponsorship is not it's difficult, especially for something that doesn't make as much money as poker does.
You ever like, try to hustle somebody for their money at like a random night?
Oh, dude, I hustle people all the time. Like, I mean, just like bar hustling was really very easy. It was, well, like I would call these people fish, like, they're called fishes, you know what I mean? So it's pretty much a similar term, no matter what kind of form of gambling it is. But um, these people, you would just go to the bar and then they would see you, and all you have to do is like you play good enough, basically. You played your level, but you're able to control the game. So that was basically what I did every time. And um, yeah, I mean, it was easy money, $100 a game. I would play, do that. But there's also nights where I would gamble like large amounts of money. And when that was the case, I never put my own money up. I actually had a backer who owned the pool hall, and he would fork up whatever money that somebody was willing to bet, basically.
That's crazy. This
Hmm.
sounds like you're giving me like underworld, uh,
Yeah,
underworld inside information. That's
yeah.
crazy. This is why I don't, because like this is why I don't accept, or like anytime anybody is like, hey, let's play like basketball for money, I'm always like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, basically. I mean, any form of the only I'm not a gambler. I hate gambling. I'm not gonna lie. Like I live in Vegas and I hate gambling. And the only way I like to gamble is if I have control at it. And pool was I was able to keep control at it playing pool because it was a skill set rather than kind of luck of the draw. You know what I'm saying? So I was able to use my skill to be able to have a better chance at winning.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to like, your time playing basketball. What made you stop playing basketball and switch over to,
I wasn't
you know,
great. I mean, I thought I was good, but I wasn't that good. Um, they, I pretty much just rode the bench the whole time, and I was I just what was crazy is I was the best free throw shooter. Like I had a nearly 100% free throw percentage, and
Rick
it was
Barry over here? He
dude,
was there like,
like and it was crazy because that game. What was that game called where there was a shooter they're at the free throw line, and the person behind you, if they made the shot before you, you get knocked out. What is it called?
oh,
Knockout?
King of the Court. Is
Yeah,
it
something like that.
knockout? I think it's
Is it?
knockout.
I think it's called knockout. So that game, I was the king at. I was just, beating everybody, but it's because of my free throw shooting. And the only reason why I became so good at free throw shooting is because my dad was the actual basketball player. Where when he was in high school, he played against Bill Walton and all those people. Yeah, and I mean, he wasn't like good enough to go NBA or anything, but he was, beating these people in, I think he was in LA at the time. And he, so he was the actual basketball player, and he would tell me that free throw shooting is, and it still is, like it's the most important thing you need to learn and be good at in basketball. And I still think it is, and that's why I just practice it all the freaking time. And
Mhm.
I spent so much time practicing, and I forgot to learn how to practice my jump shot. So
Everything else.
yeah, so it's like
Man.
my dribbling skills, my 3-point shooting, like I was so terrible at everything. But if my free throw shooting for some reason was better than, it was way better than Shaquille O'Neal's for sure. But yeah, it was I wasn't really that great at the game, and I kind of realized it. I was more of a baseball player than anything. I played a lot of baseball, but uh it was yeah, I think I realized that just basketball was going nowhere with.
How far did you get it with baseball?
I actually got injured. I played high school, and
Wow.
I got injured, and it was more of a mindset thing for me. Like what was it?
Would you break or tear?
No, so it was actually it was an appendix. My appendix burst in the middle of a baseball game, and I hit a triple, and I was like all celebrating because it was like a huge hit. And as I was jumping up and down, it was like just out of nowhere, just pain shot at me, and I just dropped to the ground at that time. And that was a crazy part, and I couldn't play in the championship game that time, but which like really killed me. You know what I mean? Like I really wanted to be part of it, but um, so that kind of like my mindset kind of kicked in. I didn't really like I didn't really get back into it. I tried, and the day that I tried to get back into it, I got hit in the forehead with a baseball, and I
Jesus.
was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. So I kind of just I didn't even bother. I stopped playing that too.
That's wild. And then so then did you grow up in Florida or
hmm
like
Yeah, I actually I grew up. I spent basically my whole life in Florida. I was born in Tennessee, Clarksville, but I moved to Florida. I think when I was 2, and when it was in 2017, I moved out here to Vegas because I came to Vegas so much for pool that I was actually very familiar with the area, and I was like, I want something different. So I ended up moving out here just out of nowhere.
so then what is the difference? What is the different thing that you pursued out there in
In
Vegas?
Vegas, photography. I actually, yeah. So I quit playing pool. I sold all my pool equipment. Literally all of my pool equipment paid for all of my photography equipment. Like my pool table was 4 grand. My Like I had 2 pool cues that were worth $3,500 each, and then yeah, it's they're custom cues, so there's a lot of money in as far as equipment goes, and like any hobby is expensive, right? But so I sold that stuff, and I just bought camera stuff because my grandfather was a photographer, and I just wanted to give it a try. So I moved out to Vegas, and I started doing adventure photography. I started hiking a lot more because I wanted to do something I couldn't do in Florida, right? So Florida is just nothing but flat land, beaches, and swamps and mosquitoes and just torture, torture, humidity, and the
And
people
tortured
there,
souls.
dude, the people there are questionable. So it's like I need to get out of here. So I left, and it was a smaller town, like it. Well, I say smaller, but it was a number one retirement city. I forgot
Mm,
what year in the country. So it was. I mean, that pretty much explains a lot right there. So
yeah.
I wanted to leave, and when I moved to Vegas, that was my first time experiencing like the city life. It's not really the city like New York is, but it's still a big, diverse city, right? So I learned a lot more when I moved out here than I did my whole life living in Florida. And it's because it's just such a small-minded, area. So it was really nice to just realize what's going on. and
Yeah.
be part of the community out here, and really enjoy it. So yeah, it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made in my life.
Well, I mean, that's such a culture shock for sure.
Oh,
Where
totally.
you're going from mainly old people to now just like this mix. It's like a great because I was in Vegas recently, and so I know where it's like you're just every night is totally different. You don't know who you're going to run into type
Yeah.
of
Hmm.
situation, and it's like everything's bright, nothing turns off, and you're
Yeah.
just there like, yeah,
Well, yeah, have you ever experienced away from the strip?
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like, have you ever gone away from the strip before, or have you
yeah.
just spent all your time? So, like, yeah, like everybody who visits Vegas normally they stay on the strip, and then that's where all the tourists go. But there's a lot more. Like, people don't realize Vegas is actually an outdoor town too. Like Red Rock Canyon is
Right.
probably one of the climbing meccas of the world. Like, it's one of the best places in the world to rock climb, right? And I used to be a huge rock climber, so it's and that was where I took my photography. Was I was doing a lot of climbing photography as well, and so a lot of people from all over the world visit Vegas just to go hike, see the outdoors, and rock climb basically. And it's not just the strip. So it's really a beautiful area, and I love it out here so much.
That's great. That's awesome because like yeah, I mean I went to what's the dam? Hoover
Yeah,
Dam. I went to
Hoover
Hoover
Dam. Yeah.
Dam.
Hmm.
I'm over here. What's the dam? Yeah, I mean, and we stood last time I was there. We stood by like near. Was it Red Rock Canyon? It could have been,
What?
but
Oh, where you were? So Hoover Dam, you're saying?
no,
So,
like where we stayed last time. Hoover Dam. I went
oh, I
like
see. I see.
because
Yeah.
I've been to Vegas twice, and the first time we checked out Hoover Dam, and then the second time we stood near Red Rocks Canyon. I think that's what I want to say because I know we were trying to actually make plans to go to it, but then we ended up not doing it. But I love just like the landscape of Vegas, because you get to see in the distance the mountains and stuff like that, and you're just like, this is gorgeous. Like when the sun hits, it's like I feel like doing photography there's got to be super easy because you just never get a really bad shot.
Totally. I mean, it really
Yeah.
is. It obviously growing up in Florida and beaches and stuff, like I wasn't used to the desert. The heat's completely different. Like, but the desert life is like it's actually it, it's hard to explain. Like it really is a great way of living, in my opinion. Some people might
Mhm.
hate the heat out here, but uh, I mean, yesterday was just it hit the record yesterday in Las Vegas for 120 degrees. So yeah, so
Melting
obviously,
shoe bottoms right there,
yeah,
man.
obviously I'm not going out hiking at that time, right? So,
Uh-huh.
but during, if you think about it, it's only a couple months out of the year. The rest of the year is perfect to go
Yeah.
do any outdoor activity out here.
Yeah. So on your journey, when does sneakers come right back into your
So
life?
when when I met my wife, we we were together for a couple of years, then we got married. The day after we got married, because we stayed here in Vegas, we went out to eat with family over at Caesar's Palace, and then over at Caesar's Palace, the Nike store, right? So
Yeah.
we went to the Nike store, and then I saw a pair of Jordan Racer threes. Where are they? They're somewhere around here. So I had a pair of Jordan Racer. I saw a pair of Jordan Racer threes there, and I'm like, man, this would actually be pretty nice to have. And they had them in my size. I wasn't really like too sure what the situation was at the time. Like, I didn't realize how fast things sold out. Excuse me. But
Just an innocent little
yeah,
Al.
I was like, yeah, no, for sure. Like, I just went into the store, I saw them. They had the Racer threes, and then they had the Jordan 5 shattered backboards. And I was like contemplating which one to get, and I just got the Racer threes, which, by the way, the threes are amazingly comfortable compared to anything else. But
That
I
could have been your pool shoe, man. You could have been
could have.
on the Ocho
Oh,
with the threes on.
honestly, yeah, I wish. I really do wish I knew about that. But so I ended up asking for my size. They had my size. I tried them on, and I guess Nike has this rule where they I had a coupon, right? And you can't use the coupon unless the shoes were sitting for more than 3 days. And that's what the guy told me. I had no idea. And they were there for more than 3 days, so apparently they're not hype enough. But I loved them and I bought them. And as soon as I wore them out the store, it was one of those weird nostalgic feelings I've had back when I was wearing the T Max. It was a crazy feeling, and that's kind of just what got me into it. Like I started watching YouTube videos, and uh, the first person that I actually saw on YouTube was Vic Almighty, where he was just like restoring all these old shoes for Rejuvenator, right? And which is great because I actually went out to Phoenix and met up and got a tour of his spot.
That's sick.
Yeah, and then which was crazy. It was like full circle right there, right? But um, yeah, so it was one of those things where I just started watching more stuff, and then as time went by, the more I paid attention to it, the more I learned about it, and it just kind of grew from there.
That's I mean that's amazing because like it's interesting because like I feel like everybody has that moment where you have to step away and then come back. Like for
Yeah,
me, it was like
same
yeah,
goes for everything, right? So it's not only sneakers, like it could literally be anything that especially childhood. Like I'm a huge person of nostalgia, and I love that feeling. So whenever I see movies that are coming out again or something like remakes, like I might be the only one that likes remakes, but it kind of gives me that feeling as a kid that when I saw something for the first time.
no, yeah. I'm also with you on the remakes because sometimes like the new Ghostbusters, I've been loving the new Ghostbusters,
Oh, really?
but
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure about it, but
I'm a big Paul Rudd guy, so I
Paul,
mean
yeah,
he
well,
can't do no wrong.
I love Paul Rudd. Yeah, he can't really. You're right. He can't do no wrong. But um, yeah, I mean, like, did you see the new one, Beverly Hills Cop, the new Beverly Hills Cop?
Oh, no, I haven't. I'm not because like that's. I don't necessarily think that's a remake. It's just a continuation,
That's true. Yeah,
right?
that's actually very true.
You
It was
know.
good, but it was good by the way.
All
I
right,
recommend
I
watching
because
that.
like that might be my tomorrow on the bus
Yeah.
to Atlantic City.
But here's a good
Watch.
example. So like Hogwarts, like Harry Potter,
Yeah.
I liked Harry Potter growing up, but when Hogwarts the video game came out, I was binge playing that game for weeks, and it gave me such a nostalgic feeling for when I was a kid because I read the book for the first time when I was in elementary school, so it was like it was such a great feeling to play
But
the
the,
game.
that one's like a little bit different because I think when you're reading or watching any Harry Potter or like those books, like you always wanted to be one of the students in there, and now you're playing. You're actually doing that. You're actually playing that
Yeah.
idea that you
Hmm.
had when you were a kid when you were reading it, right?
Hmm.
Versus it being like White Men Can't Jump, where they recast the whole thing and retold the whole story, and now you got Jack Harlow playing Woody Harrelson's character, right? Like
I
I feel
I've
like,
never seen that, so I can't really
oh, you
speak
got to
on that.
watch it. You got to watch both of them.
Is it Why do I have to watch it? Like, is it good or is it like do
I
I?
mean it's but that's the like the remake idea where it's like they take a old movie and then they retell it with new characters in 2024
Yeah,
2023.
yeah, with like the
So
current events and all that stuff, right?
yeah, so it's like you're the idea is that they don't need to really rewrite this thing, they just got to retell it.
Hmm.
So that's where I think like where people don't like remakes or retolds retellings of stories,
Well,
you know.
the way I look at it is like the old movie is always going to be there. You know what I mean? So they
Hmm.
could always be a fan of the old movie. If they don't like it, they don't like it. I mean, it's the way of life. But uh, yeah, it's not like when a new movie comes out, the old movie disappears. It's
No,
just
yeah.
so. Uh,
um I love this tangent because we can go back and forth about this all the time. but so then this starts the bug. You get the motorsport threes and it's just like you start jumping back into it, but like where was the moment you're like, I think I want to be a part of this happen?
Um, well, I mean, I was working. as a bellman on the strip, and I had a coworker who was into that culture. Like he was into sneaker culture his whole life, and yeah, like it was weird. Like I worked graveyard when I first started working there, and so did he. So I literally just picked his brain about everything, right? And the more I picked his brain about stuff, I was just the more I learned about it, the more I was like, oh, this is actually really interesting and cool because there's a ton of history, right? There's a lot of history with it. It goes back to the players too, like the Kobe's. Like I was a big fan of Kobe Bryant. Like it goes back to the actual players, and that's the reason why I liked it. Uh, because when I was a kid, I paid a lot of attention to the basketball players too. So Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, all that stuff. So like Anthony Edwards, like I have his shoes. I love his shoes, and I still kind of have that connection where I connect the shoe to the basketball player rather than getting whatever shoe that is the most hypest. You know what I mean? Like I get a shoe
Yeah.
that I like, and if I like it, I wear it. And I don't collect shoes. I think every shoe I have in here I've worn. Yeah. So it's
I
if I
mean,
like the shoe,
that's a collection, man. If you have
yeah,
several things, you
yeah,
collect it.
for sure,
Even if
for
you wear
sure,
it, you're collected.
totally.
Because like if you're even if like people who because I once the first when I first noticed my collecting gene is with obviously Pokemon. Oh yeah, Pokemon, and then you know I'm playing them, but I'm also like I gotta buy more packs. Like like you're
Uh-huh.
just holding on to them, and you're still playing with them, and then you're like I feel like as long once it starts once you start having several things of one thing, you're collecting it at this point because there's no point of it
No,
like being like yeah.
yeah, you're right. You're right. But I mean, I think what I mean though is like there's a lot of people who buy the shoes and then they sit on them and
Yeah,
they never actually wear them, right? So I think every pair of shoes I have I wore and I continue to wear them. Some more than I should, you know. Some I don't wear enough. I wish now that I'm looking at them right now and paying attention to it, I like I should wear my military fours, but whatever. But it's like, but who knows?
yeah. And then I mean that's dope. I think that the bestowing of the culture to other people is what we're missing a lot currently. I think a lot of people are just kind of like jumping in, not really understanding a lot of things, and then when they get called out or something like that, they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And it's like, "But yeah, we call each other out all the time." And it's like people jump back out because of that. So it's interesting because the all you got to do is just take the time and listen, or look it up. And I think a lot of people forget that part. I think a lot of
Mhm.
people are just like they just jump in and then they're like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm ready, I know what's going on, and it's like a lot of like, nah, you don't. So
Yeah,
that's
and
that's dope.
well, and I'm not gonna lie, like I don't know as much as other people do, right? So,
No, I,
you've had a
yeah,
lot of people on your show that have a huge history in sneakers, and where me, like I'm not as knowledgeable as them, right? But what's cool is like the artwork that I'm doing because I'm typing up the history behind the shoe. As I do each piece, I am actually learning about each piece and the history behind each shoe in general. And so all the shoes I have done in the past, I know a lot about because I did a lot of research behind it to try to figure out, what to write up for that. So that's one of those things where I may not know as much, but I'm actually catching up a lot faster than normal because I'm actually doing a ton of research trying to figure out how to write something up for
yeah. And I
this
mean,
particular
look,
shoot.
don't let anybody take anything away from you, right? I think what you're doing is amazing, and the way that you're doing it is super insightful because a lot of people you're doing it in a way that people aren't doing it, right? Where it's like you're
Yeah, yeah.
immersing yourself within it versus just looking on Google and just be like, yeah, cool, now I know, right? So like you're taking the shoe apart, and that's what I really loved about your page. Like I one thing about I'll give you your flowers right here. One thing about is just like it's hard to get me. I will 100% tell a lot of people it's hard to get me. To me, for me to be like, wow, right? And when I saw your page, because yeah, it was Winona Kicks just like shared it, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, and I don't know if you know who Freehand Profit is or know about Freehand Profit, but he makes mask out of
Oh yeah, yeah, no, yeah,
sneakers.
yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So for me, I remember seeing that like in the 2000s and being like, all right, this is all right. But because it was just like a lot of the time when I was younger, it was like, oh, he's just wasting the sneaker. Like, why are you doing this? And then I looked at your stuff. I looked at your stuff, and I'm like, this is crazy because you can put this in a museum. If you put this in a museum, people are gonna be like, wow, I didn't know this was this is that, this does this. Like when the dissection of it is super interesting to me because I think that way, where it's like when I buy a shoe or it comes down to any shoe, it's like, okay, what does this serve a purpose for? What does this mean? What like, and I'm like breaking it down in my head. And to be honest, it probably looks like whenever you put together a piece. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool. This is this, and then like in my head, that's how I see it. And so yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, wow, is you
Well,
get every time I look at your stuff is wow.
well, first off, thank you, right? But I appreciate that, and but yeah, it's exactly what I tried to give off is that museum kind of feel, right? So when I put together a piece, like I'm trying to show the inner parts as well. So I want to try and include as many parts of the shoe that I can, while still having it look, aesthetic and whatever. So like I want to be educational just as much as I wanted it to be just art. Um, so when I lay the piece out, it really, my goal is if it's like I just had a gallery showing, my goal was anybody who looks at it really stands there for 5 minutes and just like really takes it in, like how much work is put into each shoe, the design of each shoe, and then the materials that are used in each shoe as well. Or like, what's the reason why that's there, this and that. Like, uh, that's my goal. Like, I want to have the piece obviously look beautiful, but I also want to educate the person on the process behind the design itself.
Yeah, I mean, you do that accurate. I want to see one in person so bad. So next time I'm out in Vegas, you might
Oh,
get
for
a
sure.
call.
Yeah,
Be
yeah,
like,
for sure,
like
for sure.
just so I can see one in person. But what's
Honestly, yeah.
like, yeah, what's the first one that you made, and did your wife help you with it?
So the first one I did was a Jordan 1 Chicago. However,
Mm-hmm.
it was a replica, right? I didn't want to take
Mm-hmm.
apart and ruin a brand new, authentic shoe. So when I first started off, I was using mainly replicas to figure out designs.
Mm-hmm.
And the
That's
first
probably
one,
the best way to use a rep. I'll be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. Oh, what's crazy is like the rep, and I'm not going to tell anybody like where I got it, but like the rep that I that I sourced from was like the most accurate, and it was crazy. I if you gave me a replica and an authentic shoe, I'm not as knowledgeable to tell you which is which, right? However, like I couldn't tell, so it was nice to be able to work with that shoe, and I knew that once I transitioned to using authentics, it was going to be basically the same thing, right? Um, so yeah, I used a Jordan 1, and I put that together, and it was literally the first piece I ever done. I sold it for like $300. Somebody here in Las Vegas owns it, and but before I sold it, I went to a couple of sneaker shows, and that's when I kind of figured out, I was like, oh, maybe I do got something going here. So that's when I started working on more designs and more things and all that stuff, to the point where I just started only doing authentics from now on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's wild. One, smart for you to do that because I think that I feel like the idea of just starting off with like a brand new shoe and just being like, yeah, this is it. I'd be upset if I made any mistakes. I'd be like, oh no, like yeah, that the stakes is high when you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna throw up I'm gonna get a resell because your Chicago Jordan 1 is definitely going for a lot of money. And you're just like, yeah, let me just
Yeah,
jump into it
yeah,
with
yeah. It's like five, 600. Or no, I think I got it because I actually did buy an authentic pair. I think it was like $700, $800 or something like that. But I yeah, it's one of those things. The worst part is taking it apart, right? Like when you take the sole off. At that time, I was using a steamer, and I was just steaming the sole off, and that created like watermarks. And when it dried on the leather, especially when I use suede. So when I used suede and nubuck, there was always these weird lines that were water that the steam left behind. So it wasn't until actually when I met up with Vic Almighty, he told me a technique to use a heat gun and acetone, and just kind of use a needle to kind of use the acetone. It's a long process, but it's much cleaner, right? So
Yeah.
now I'm doing that for now on instead of using the steamer, uh, which was an amazing advice by him. And now every shoe I do is much cleaner looking. You don't see any lines and nothing like that. So it was one of those things where I was so worried about ruining the shoe when I took it apart more than anything.
Yeah. When you decided to post it, how nervous were you, or did you think like this is going to go crazy?
Um, I don't honestly know. Like I took it to a convention. Everybody loved it. I created an Instagram page. I probably sat on, I don't know, like less than 1,000 followers for a couple months, and then like it was just one of those things where I knew I had a good product. I just needed eyes to see it, and it wasn't until like I was just hustling, right? I went to SneakerCon, I went to the Las Vegas Sneaker Convention, I think it was called. I went to Project Show. Project Show is a huge one for like designers and all that stuff. So there's a lot of like creative directors out there that go out for that show. And then when I went to the project show, that was when I did some sort of interview for a super line. I forgot. I feel bad, but it was a big Instagram page, and they shared that interview out of nowhere, like a couple months after they actually did it, and I just kind of that's where I got. I think I got like 16,000 followers in 2 days just from that video.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I made just from that video alone, that's what kind of kick started my whole thing and made me realize like I do have something going here, and luckily so because I actually love doing it. So it's really I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones. You know what I mean? Where I can finally quit my job and do what I love for a living.
That's, congrats. I mean, you live in the dream right now. I'm trying to get
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I mean, it's cool because I'm kind of hitting the back end of it right now, so it's slowed down a bit, but it's still pretty cool to be able to uh, hear a lot of cool, nice words from a lot of people who are known in the industry, and it's
Yeah.
pretty dope.
What are opportunities like, or who'd you made some cool stuff for because out of this?
Um, yeah, so I had a friend of mine he's a custom sneaker maker artist out here in Vegas, Jordan Diop, and he is he actually does a lot of work for UFC, like Dana White. And me, like it's funny because I followed him for quite a bit, but I didn't realize or I didn't see the Las Vegas location in his bio on his Instagram page. So I kind of just hit up on his page one day, and I was like, oh crap! So it's he's actually lives here in Vegas. So I reached out to him, and we met up, and from there he introduced me to Dana White basically, and Dana White got a piece of mine, and then when I met up with me and him went up to the headquarters. We I pitched him the idea for a Travis Scott piece because I mean if you don't know Dana White, he is like obsessed with Travis Scott shoes, right? Like
Yeah,
The Jordan 1 Travis Scott, and if I remember right, he has like 90 pairs of the same color, and
it's crazy.
he sends them all to Jordan to switch out the colors of the swishes. So it's it's nuts. And
Wild.
yeah, so I pitched him the idea because I want to dive in more into the fine art aspect and going large scale. Like most of my work is a single shoe, right? But I want to go uh, bigger, and I want to be able to put multiple shoes into one frame. So I pitched him that idea, and immediately he goes to his safe and hands me a couple stacks of cash, and was like, "Let's make it happen." And that's when he said, "I'm going to gift it to Travis Scott." And I'm like, "Oh,
Wow.
okay, yeah." So that's cool. And and I'm not even a year. Honestly, I'm not even a year into this. At the time, I was probably 6 months into it, and I'm already, being commissioned to do a piece for Travis Scott. So it's like it was very surreal at that time. And we walked out. Jordan, it was crazy because when we were driving back to, I was driving back to his house. He was way more excited than I was, and I think it was because I just couldn't, I didn't really take it in,
Yeah.
So it's like I was still trying to process it in my head, like because immediately my mindset was like, okay, well, how am I going to do this? So I was like, how am I going to do the backing? Because I build everything from scratch, right? Basically, and then how am I going to get the frame? And so, so I was already kind of in, the mode of executing the thing, but I didn't really give myself time to actually be excited at the moment.
Yeah, it's tough to, when you're in it. It's definitely got to be more tough to be like, all right, like this is amazing. This is an amazing opportunity. Instead, you're probably just like, oh my god, I have like this huge thing to do now. All the
Yeah,
eyes are on this. You're just like, all right, how do I get this? How do I get this perfectly done? And yeah, that's crazy because I don't know what your process is, but I could definitely feel like as soon as you said that, I could definitely feel like I was already in my mind of like, all right, how is he gonna do this? How is he gonna do that?
yeah. No, it was weird because it, like he like after I pitched it to him, it was within 2 minutes. Like he just goes into his safe, gets wads of just cash, and because to get the shoes itself cost 8 grand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to get the materials, I had to get all that, the framing and everything. So it's not cheap. It wasn't cheap, and so yeah, he just paid me all up front, and that, and I didn't know like how to celebrate that at the moment. I immediately I went into like I need to get to work mode and I need to figure this out. And I guess that's not a bad thing, but yeah, I guess at times I should probably celebrate.
You got definitely take a moment and definitely appreciate it because that's definitely a once in a lifetime type of thing. Or I mean, it could be more common and you for you in the future. So
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
it's
Like
possible,
honestly,
man.
honestly, like I'm just like along for the ride. I'm just stay doing what I'm doing, and whatever comes to me just comes to me, and we'll just see where it takes me from there.
I hope it leads to you being able to make a pool table with your grails in the middle, like a see-through pool table with your grails in the middle. Or you make it a pool table, a specialized pool table where you can switch it out. You can switch out the middle. So you pull it out and it's like your pieces of whichever shoe you're like, I want to do like, the 4, 5, and 6. You got like a 4, 5, and 6 plate. You just slide them in and out.
At this point, I'll probably use that pool table as a workstation more than anything.
Listen, if anybody's listening to this that follows you and is like, Dana White's like, I'm listening to this episode, and then might get this commission, and then you're gonna have to figure out how to make a pool table with with pieces in the middle.
Well, what's funny is like I don't know how to make a pool table from scratch, but I did work with somebody who did, and I used to repair pool tables a lot, so I kind of had an
Mm-hmm.
idea. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'll take 10% of that commission off of that for this just this idea. um I'm curious because like I said earlier with freehand profit, I had like an adverse reaction to like watching like looking at sneakers get chopped up, right? So have you
Mhm.
received any of that, or like people being like, why would you destroy perfect
Oh, totally,
you know
totally. I got a lot of I wouldn't say it was like anger or anything. It was just like people were like, "Holy crap, that's really cool what you're doing," but I'm kind of really getting cringed up and I'm getting a weird gut feeling about you chopping up this shoe, right? So, I mean, I got that quite a bit.
Mhm. What how do you receive that? Like does it waters off a duck back because of pool, or is it just like, you know
Um, well, there's always going to be people that don't like your stuff no matter what you're doing. So, there was a time where like I posted stuff on Reddit, and I don't know if you're familiar with Reddit, but people
Of
on
course.
there are just ruthless, right? So
Yeah.
it was one of those things where I felt like no matter what I posted on Instagram, I got love. But whenever I posted on Reddit, like it was nice to kind of get me back down, make me, think about how I'm approaching things because people would lay it into me there, and they're like, "That's not art." And I get it. It's one of those things where I'm not, I haven't spent thousands and thousands of hours, drawing or illustrations or doing stuff like that where people are just, absolute masters at what they do at, and they work at it, right? Um, I have a lot of history in the creative world in general, as far as the artistic background and photography. Uh, like I didn't mention this, but I did miniature stuff a lot. Um,
Wow. Man, you got
yeah.
a long resume, man.
Yeah, I have a lot of creative outlets, and so I did a lot in my background, but it kind of just it led me to the point where it allowed me to come up with that idea and and just pursue it and be able to approach it and have it look good. And it's it- yeah, I mean, not everybody's gonna like your stuff, and I get it. It's cool, but you just gotta kind of just forget about them and just focus on the people who do like your stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's tough. Art is tough. Like, I
Uh-huh.
go to museums and I'm always like, this is trash. Like, two strings on a wall. I'm like, why? I don't see the vision sometimes, but the I always applaud the ability to put yourself out there and just take a chance like that, because it's hard. It's hard, and then getting that chance to be in a public place is even harder, right? So, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I mean everybody's done it. Like everybody's gone through to an art museum and was like, I can do that. And I'm on the other side of that now because I know there's people that can do what I do, right? So it's one of those things where it, I think it's more so the idea behind it that accounts for it than rather the execution of it, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but
It makes
uh,
sense.
yeah.
I think you're telling a story from your point of view with your the way how you process it,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
it they can't take that part away from you, and they can't see the vision you see when you finish a product, or like when you finish a piece, right? So
Hmm.
if they try to discredit you because they think that it's so easy to do, then why aren't they doing it? Is always
Yeah.
my thing.
Well, that was the cool thing about the that video I told you about that I got the interview at Project Show. Like the response from that video was very overwhelming, and the very few people that did kind of negatively take it, there's a lot of other responses that were like, "You're just mad you didn't think about it," right? So it's like it was one of those things where you know I'm just happy I did think about it, and I'm happy that I'm able to kind of execute it because I'm really honestly I'm having a good time learning about these sneakers. I'm having a good time
Mhm.
taking these apart because nobody's taking these shoes apart. When they buy the shoes, they're obviously going to put them in their collection and like have it hold their value. I'm sitting here just ruining the shoe, for everybody to see. So it's actually a good time like having other people pay for that shoe so I could see what it looks like, how it's made, and
Yeah.
the materials that are used into the shoe itself.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, I think you created a lane for yourself. I'm definitely hoping to see a lot more of your work. And again, though, I definitely got to be able to put. I got to see one in person. Like,
Oh yeah,
in the next
yeah for
couple of
sure.
years, I got to see one in person, because I love your post, but I know I'm gonna feel something totally different when it's in my
Totally.
face.
And
Yeah,
in my personal opinion, I feel like photos don't do it justice. I feel like it does look a lot nicer and a lot more uh, like mind blowing in person.
for sure, for sure. So at the end of the podcast, I always ask another question. So I want you. It deals with a little bit of visualization. So I want you to think back to, let's go with the Iverson sixes. You got the Iverson sixes.
No, I don't.
Okay, so then let's go
Uh,
to the T Max.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, because I know you said you had those. All right, so I want you to flash back to when you're about to open that box with the T Max in it, and now you're you behind your younger self. What would you tell your younger self as they open that box?
Huh. Interesting. So the T Max I do have are the my wife calls them the Silver Surfer shoes because they are the Philadelphia All-Star Game T Max, and I don't know if you remember them, but
No.
almost the whole shoe is silver, right?
Uh-huh.
And it it's like yeah. So so I honestly they're not great looking, but they were the only T Max I could find at the time, and they were practically brand new, and I got them for like $80 on Poshmark. And so when they came in, dude, that nostalgic feeling was great. But I knew if I was a kid and I saw myself opening the box of those, I'd probably smack myself to be honest, because I just I wasn't I've always I'm not really a huge fan of like super flashy shoes. I do love bright colors, like the undefeated Air Forces that came out not too long ago. But I love that stuff. But like when the whole shoe is silver, I feel like that's really overdoing it. But like I wear them to the gym and stuff, and they're super comfortable. But I don't know, it's tough to kind of rock them with an outfit, to be honest. So I probably totally smack myself if I was a kid, for sure.
What's a all right? Let me rephrase this question. What's a shoe that you had when you was a kid?
So uh, I had quite a few. So one in particular that I actually really loved was a pair of uh, Jordan team. Like I said, I'm not huge on names,
Team
but
Jordans.
yeah, there are teams, but uh, they came out with like the new pair, but they're like the original one
Uh
ones,
huh.
but they'll never re-come out with them ever again. But I love those so much. Dude, I had the weirdest collection. Like I
I
just
mean, that's.
loved.
I just need. I'm just saying one shoe. Just give me one shoe, and then we're gonna use that question on that shoe.
All right,
So let's go with the Team Jordans. You're about to open. You're about to open the box of those Team Jordans. What would
okay.
you, your older self behind your younger self, would tell them as they open that box?
Oh, so that way around. So what would I
Mhm.
would say now to the kid, to me
Yeah,
as a kid,
yeah.
I should have kept them. Uh, like I had a weird thing growing up where like the only way I could get a new pair of shoes is if my parents would buy me a new pair of shoes if the old pair would wear out. And sometimes I would actually like uh, just beat them to crap on purpose just to be able to get a new pair of shoes. And
Jeez.
it was one of those things and one of the reasons why I kind of got out of it was because uh, I didn't have anybody else really to tell me that it was normal to have a shoe fetish, like to have a like it was like
A shoe fetish.
yeah. So like it just wasn't like a normal thing. I didn't feel like it was normal. I felt like it was just a weird thing at the time to like shoes so much. And now that I'm older, I kind of get it, and I've realized that I'm not the only one that actually, enjoys sneakers. So so I mean, I guess if I was a telling my younger self, I probably would have told him all the shoes that I had, I should have kept because I was the same size then that I was now. So it's like
Wow.
yeah, so I really should have kept them, and I would have still worn them up,
Wow. That's very rare, first of all. But
Mhm.
beautifully said. Al, thank you again for jumping
Yeah,
on, man. And for
yeah.
everybody out there, you know what we say each week: wear your kicks. Peace.